Hey everyone, welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a weekly podcast about lifestyle and healthy eating. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative yet entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
We'll cover everything but the kitchen sink. Each week we'll discuss topics ranging from how to protect yourself from developing cancer, spicy foods to rev up the libido, to caring for your palliative grandfather with Alzheimer's.
We'll also delve into more complex issues like, what the heck is oat milk? Why doesn't my butt fit into these jeans? And every guy's favorite question, will eating spinach really make it bigger? Join us each week as we strive to educate, enlighten, and entertain you. When you look at the ingredient list on a lot of processed foods, it reads more like an inventory list for a chemistry lab than for a food product. Phosphoric acid, potassium chloride, disodium inosinate, xanthan gum. Food manufacturers use these chemicals to make your food look, smell, or taste a certain way, but are they good for you? Evidence suggests that the obesity epidemic is directly related to the amount of processed foods we are consuming. Estimates show that by 2030, the number of overweight and obese people will rise to 1/3 of the global population. And the major concern is that no country to date has successfully reversed the growth in obesity once it's allowed to develop. On today's episode, we'll take an in-depth look at the different types of processed foods, from ultra-processed to minimally processed. We'll also give you some tips on how to recognize which processed foods are okay and which ones to avoid. Some might surprise you. This is a good one. Stay with us. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Rob.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Did you press record?
Did I what?
Press record?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're recording. Everyone's listening right now.
Okay. We've got a lot to say.
We sure do. This is, what are we talking about today? Processed foods.
Well, yeah. 5 ways to reduce your intake of ultra-processed foods.
Ultra-processed.
Because 61% of calories consumed are from ultra-processed foods, and then 23% are from minimally processed foods.
And that stat is referring to what? Americans, U.S., North America?
That's consumed in the U.S.
So 61% of calories are from processed foods.
Ultra-processed foods.
Wow, really?
Because, most foods are processed, so we're going to kind of look at the differences between minimally processed and processed and ultra-processed. So ultra sometimes can be in language. Ultra means, yeah, that's ultra, like it's a good thing.
It's one of those trendy words.
With food, it's not a good thing. You do not want to eat ultra processed foods, but all of us eat them every day.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what this sort of the categories, the list is.
Yeah. Well, we know that
help.
Increasing intake of ultra processed foods for people, it decreases your diet quality, like your nutritional intake of fiber,
of
protein, vitamin C, potassium, magnesium.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And increasing your intake of ultra processed foods increases your risk of obesity and fatty liver, the abdominal fat around the organs, increases your risk of diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and high blood pressure. And
it increases your waistline.
Right.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Carlos Montero developed 4 categories, a NOVA food system for identifying what ultra-processed and minimally processed. So there's 4 categories starting from...
It's like a system, like a categorization system, you mean?
That's right. There's food, it groups food into 4 categories.
Okay.
And it's the degree of processing, and it's not just based on the nutrient profile. So it examines the healthfulness.
Okay. So like how much something's been processed.
Yeah.
Versus what's in it, kind of.
Right.
Sort of.
Okay, so let's start at number 1 is unprocessed, minimally processed. So that would be
like raw food, right?
Yeah.
Unprocessed.
Picking an apple off a tree, or it doesn't have to be that. Basically, whole foods, whole minimally processed foods,
right,
like from their state that they are grown in, and you eat them out of the ground or off the tree.
That's pretty easy to understand, I think.
Vegetables, fruits, beans, grains, fresh meat and milk.
Like an apple that you buy at a store has gone through some processing in terms of it's been washed, or it's been whatever they do at the apple factory or whatever it's called, wherever it goes after it comes off the tree. It goes in the back of Farmer John's truck, and then it goes to the recycling plant, the whatever, there's a bit of, does that count as processing? You know what I'm trying to say? They put a sticker on it and they wash it, and
that would be minimally processed.
Okay.
Yeah. The second one is processed culinary ingredients, so oils and pastas and flour and sugar and salt. So it's foods that you would use when you're cooking in your kitchen. So that's they're processed to get to the point of, you're purchasing the pasta to cook, or the oil to use in your cooking, or the sugar or salt or flour that you're using to make food.
Okay.
The third category is processed foods that they've added something like canned fruits and vegetables. So canned fruits that have syrup in them, or seasoned nuts, or cured or smoked meats, sausage, cheese is actually a category number 3, processed food, and bread, because it's processed to be made to its state that you buy it.
Right.
And then number 4 is the ultra processed foods, or highly processed foods and drink. And that's soft drinks and ice cream, candy, kind of like junk food. We can put in, in quotes, hot dogs, instant powdered and pre-prepared foods. So like any instant protein powder, or ideal protein in a shake or whatever. Shake, yeah. Any of those kind of things are ultra processed.
Are we trying to stay obviously towards the beginning of that category system? Like 1 and 2 is where we want to be in order to be healthy, and avoid 3 and 4? Yeah.
Well, remember we were talking about, I think we discussed earlier about the red light, green light kind of category system. And red light would be, once a week maybe. And green light would be as much as you want. So we're going to do a challenge in a minute. But first, I just want to do a chart of what's got better nutritional value versus poor nutritional value.
Okay.
So that we have a bit of a framework. So better nutritional value would be, as I said, the whole fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds in their whole state, beans, whole grains with fiber, lean meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy. And then the poor nutritional value would be foods with added sugars, saturated and trans fats, foods that have those added, refined grains, high fat meats like the cold cut and sausages, and highly processed or ultra processed foods like the junkier foods.
Okay. So those are kind of our things to look for as far as identifying how much it's been processed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And some of the information for today's episode came from many different sources. I'm sure you've heard of Michael Pollan.
I have. We've talked about him before.
With the Omnivore's Dilemma and In Defense of Food are 2 excellent books that he put out, and that he has others. But his quote is, "Eat foods, not too much, mostly plants."
Yeah, that's good advice. I think we've mentioned that before.
Yeah, I like that kind of...
that idea.
Yeah, it's been used a lot, I think. Another one, I don't know if people have watched these different documentaries out there, and there's lots now on food and the food industry. There's one called Food Inc., and it's on the front of the book. It's got a cow with a code, like a
QR code. Is that what that's called?
Or a grocery store code. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
With the ISBN code on the side of the cow, which is kind of funny. So, and it says how industrial food is making us sicker, fatter, and poorer, and what we can do about it. So that's really good. It's got Michael Pollan has been quoted in this, and he's a contributor to this, and Eric Schlosser, who is the Fast Food Nation author, and he put that book out there. And then Marion Nestle is another person that is a food advocate, and she's nutrition advisor in the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay. Interesting. Some good homework.
Yeah. There's also another excellent book called Kid Food: Challenges of Feeding Children in a Highly Processed World by Bettina Eliza Siegel, and she's a lawyer and food advocate.
There we go. Lots of good reading. Sandra's a big reader. We have a lot of books here, so if you ever need a good book to read, just give her a holler. She'll send you in the right direction.
So there's a good chart in a book called Fat Chance: Beating the Odds Against Sugar, Processed Foods, Obesity, and Disease. And it's by Robert Lustig, MD. And it's a really good way to kind of categorize the real versus processed food when you're shopping.
Okay.
So there's 4 principles. There's low sugar, should be high in fiber, low omega-3 fats, and low trans fats.
Okay, say that again. Low in sugar.
Yes.
High in fiber.
Yes.
I forget the last 2.
And the last 2 we talked about last episode, low in omega-3 omega-6 fats.
Okay.
And low in trans fats.
Because you want it high in omega-3. So low in omega-6, high in omega-3. Okay. And low in trans fats.
Yeah, but no, not high in omega-3.
No, not for this, but
yeah, just because
week.
They spoil really easily. So if they're in the food, then they're probably highly processed to preserve that food.
Oh, I see. Okay. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to do a little bit of a challenge with you, Rob.
Oh, is this the game we're going to play?
Yeah. So remember red, yellow, and green light?
Red light, green light?
That's right.
I played that when I was a teenager.
Did you?
I'm good. I like this game. Yeah, it's
fun.
A teenager, red light, green light. You never played that game?
I think when I was a kid.
With your boyfriend?
You're so funny. No.
No? Okay, well, we're going to play it now then.
Okay.
That'll be fun. Who goes first?
Well, I'll give you the rules.
Well, this is different.
Okay.
This is a different version.
It totally is.
Okay.
Okay. So once a week, the red foods, which are, if it has a label, then it'll say 2 grams of fiber or less and over 10 grams of sugar. So that's a red food. It's caution. You stop before you purchase it and kind of think twice about it. A yellow food would be 3 to 5 times a week. It's not quite so bad. I mean, it's, I shouldn't say bad, but processed. So it's got more than 3 grams of fiber per serving and more than 3 grams of sugar is yellow. So that's why I say it's like, okay, the red one was more than 10 grams of sugar. So now we're looking at more than 3 grams of sugar. The green light is like, have as much as you want. It would be less than 3 grams of sugar and more than 5 grams of fiber. Okay.
That's a lot to sort of think about. I'm going to answer this based on my gut feeling of when you read the product. I'm going to try to answer sort of representing everyone else out there.
Perfect.
Not just me.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I will answer what I think how most people would answer.
Okay, that's awesome. Quick rule of thumb would be the food should be higher in fiber than sugar. Like the grams of fiber should be higher than the grams of sugar if it's packaged with the label.
Okay. That's a general rule for all processed foods, you mean?
For this, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're going to buy something in a package and it's processed, aim for higher in fiber versus the sugar grams.
Okay.
Okay. So like the green light challenge, the green, which is you can eat every day, is more than 5 grams of fiber and less than 3 grams of sugar.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So cream of wheat. Where does that fit on? Green, a yellow, or a red?
See, cream of wheat, I think that it would be healthy. So I'll say green.
It's a red.
A what?
Yes. So it's less than 2 grams of fiber. That's the big reason. I don't think it has added sugar, but it's it fits on the red. So
Dang.
Once a week.
I'm off. No,
or
I'm
less.
Not. We're off to a bad start. Me and my people that I'm representing.
Okay. What about high fiber instant oatmeal?
So that sounds healthy.
Instant oatmeal?
Well, as long as it's not loaded with sugar, it doesn't say, but high fiber, instant, is it flavored? Doesn't say, right?
Oh, that's a really good.
Because if it's flavored, flavor equals sugar.
That's right. You're right.
It doesn't, I'm going to just take a stab and say that it's a green light.
It's yellow.
It's yellow.
Yeah, because it's got 10 grams of fiber, which is really a lot.
That's
good.
That's tons.
But because it's instant and it does have sugar, it's got the 7 grams of sugar.
See, they didn't tell me that part. So that's, I think I get half points for that.
Okay. That's right. Remember, yellow is 3 to 5 times a week, and it's more than 3 grams of fiber, and it could have more than 3 grams of sugar. So that fits in the Quaker high fiber instant oatmeal.
That's added sugar.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Raisin Bran.
Oh, Raisin Bran. See, Raisin Bran's one of those things that, and I've eaten a lot of Raisin Bran because I like raisins, but the raisins in the Raisin Bran are like little sugar bullets.
Yeah. And aren't they, I thought they were like deep fried, or there's
definitely something. They're not like a normal raisin.
Right.
So you'd think like, ooh, Raisin Bran, that sounds healthy, but I'm going to say red.
Oh, you know what? It actually is yellow because it's got good fiber, but really high in sugar. So like you said.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking.
Yeah. So 8 grams of fiber and 19 grams of sugar.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a
little misleading because you think, oh, that sounds like a healthy cereal, especially because there's bran in the title and you think raisins are healthy. But like I said, the raisins that are in Raisin Bran, they might as well be like in a little candy package because that's what they're like.
Yeah. Aren't they like sprinkled with powdered sugar or something?
They're totally sprinkled with sugar and deep fried or whatever however they process them. But
yeah, exactly.
Don't be fooled.
Well, and there's a bit of a sugar, like if you think of sugar, if it should be less than 10% of your total calories. So something I looked up said for a man, it's like 1,500 calories a day. I would say more like realistically 2,000 calories a day.
That's what I would need.
Yeah.
Or a regular man would need 2,000 calories a day.
Yeah, kind of like a daily value, like it's like 2,000 calories a day. And then so if 10% of your total calories come from sugar, then that would equate to 13 teaspoons of
so 200 grams of sugar then? Is that what that means?
No,
10%.
200 calories of sugar.
200 calories of sugar.
Yeah, which is
I was going to say
it equates to about 13 teaspoons.
Okay.
And then for women, it's about 9 teaspoons a day, which sounds like a lot, but gosh, I think our average is way higher than that.
You're getting it. And how many grams would that be? Because that's what's on the food label, right? Like when you look at a food label, it says how many grams of sugar per serving. So how many, it's times 4, isn't it? That's right. 13.
Yes.
So that's like 52 grams of sugar that an average male would need to consume.
Yes.
Or that's like the maximum they'd want to consume.
Yeah, 52 grams, exactly.
Okay. So, and your food, you're going to get, well, what did you say the Raisin Bran had? 10 grams?
19 grams.
Holy, 19 grams. So right there, your bowl of cereal. I prefer, if I'm going to eat like a Raisin Bran, I would prefer just to eat regular bran cereal and add my own raisins to it.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to just keep the amount of raisins to be like just a quarter cup.
I usually like to have 1 raisin for every 8 flakes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my ratio.
You're funny.
Yeah.
So I just did the math, and that's why I've been quiet.
You've been quiet?
You're funny. Well, it's almost 40% of your calories if you had Raisin Bran in the morning, and we're looking at that kind of sticking with 52 grams of sugar for you in a day. And that is about 40% of your amount of sugar you can have all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Just by eating those Raisin Bran. So it's probably better to have just unprocessed oats, not instant oats, but quick oats or steel cut oats, and then add your own
toppings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the bits and pieces.
Okay, here's another one. Rice cakes.
Rice cakes. Flavored with the
unflavored.
Unflavored, just raw.
I think a lot of people eat these like thinking, oh, they're really healthy. Rice cakes. It's low calories.
Right there, I'm going to say a yellow.
It's red.
It's red, really? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Rice cakes, so not more than once a week.
Well, I guess if you think about it, it's totally processed.
Exactly.
Because it's not like you go out to the field and pick one off a tree. Right? They don't come like that.
That's right.
Oh, look, honey, It's a rice cake tree. Look at all the rice cakes there. Oh, they're fresh too. Right? So clearly.
You're funny. Oh my gosh.
I didn't think about the whole processing to get it into that round hockey puck shape. And
That's right.
they all fit nicely in the package together on top of each other. They're like cookie cutter factory.
Yep. So less than 2 grams of fiber. That's where it fits into
There's
the
like
red
0
category.
calories in those things or something, right? Is that why people think they're healthy?
I think so.
They eat them to get to fill their bellies, but they're filling it with like puffed air.
Yeah.
No offense, but I mean, I'm just being honest with, there's
it's
nothing.
highly processed.
There's nothing in them.
That's the bottom line. Like rice cakes
Highly
are highly
processed. Puffed air.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like some politicians are like that with highly processed puffed air, right?
Right.
Yeah. Everyone agrees.
Okay. What about raisins, dried cranberries?
Oh, I know they're not healthy. They seem healthy, but they're loaded with sugar. And
so
they've
green,
been,
yellow, or red?
They're red, yellow, red,
Yellow.
yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's because of, remember with yellow, it's more than 3 grams of fiber and possibly 3 grams of sugar or more.
So they don't have much fiber because they're really little.
No, I think that's where they have some outstanding qualities is they do have a little bit of fiber.
Okay.
Because they're dried. Because the dried fruit is more higher in fiber because it's concentrated.
But it's also higher in sugar because it's concentrated, right?
Yeah, you got it.
And
that's
those
why I
things
think
are
it's a yellow.
Off the chart in sugar.
Yeah.
More so than raisins, I think.
What about vitamin water?
Oh, vitamin water. That sounds healthy. But also not natural. And definitely it's been processed. I'm going to say red.
Yep.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, energy drinks, vitamin water, Slurpees.
Slurpees?
They're in the same category.
Slurpee. See, that just, the name should give it away, especially spelled with 2 E's. Slurpee. That sounds healthy.
One of the other things is something your grandmother would recognize.
She definitely wouldn't recognize a Slurpee. She'd probably slap you if you said that word around her.
Or actually, we should say great grandmothers because now these ultra processed foods have been around for a couple decades. So we're talking about foods that your great grandmother would recognize.
Yes, true.
And foods that have less than 5 ingredients is another good rule of thumb to follow for if you're buying a packaged processed food. Aim for something that doesn't have a whole book of
whole
ingredients.
Page of ingredients on the side of it.
Yeah. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, we have a comparison. Do you want to do the peanut butter first?
Sure.
Okay. So I have a kid's peanut butter, we'll call it.
Okay.
It's the Kraft smooth, creamy kind of peanut butter that most kids insist on eating. So here's the ingredient list on this. It's got roasted peanuts, soybean oil, sugars, and then they have in brackets a bunch of different sugars, hydrogenated vegetable oil, salt, mono and diglycerides, and so that's the ingredient list there. And then Sandra has one.
Okay, this is Adams, and it says ingredients: peanut, salt.
And that's it.
That's it. 2 ingredients.
Yeah. And you know which one I like better?
I know what you like Adams better.
Well, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's all, all there is just peanuts. And they're both peanut butter. And you can see the huge difference between the two. The one has 10 different ingredients in it. And most of them, I don't even know what they are. And did you mention this about items in your kitchen? Something about things that you wouldn't find in your kitchen?
Yeah. So ultra processed foods, I'm really glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. It means if it's not something you'd find in your fridge, if that's on the ingredient list, like hydrogenated oil or what did you call that other one? It was like a thickener or a bulking agent.
Right. Bulking agent. It was
something, that's not something that you're going to find in your cupboard. So that is something that's a hint that it's a ultra processed food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the grade 4 ultra processed. So substances that you wouldn't use in food prep at home, like hydrolyzed proteins or modified starches, hydrogenated oils, colorant, flavorings, high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, bulking agents.
Yeah. Like we don't have that stuff in our cupboard.
To add when we're cooking our dinner.
Yeah. Honey, have you seen the bulking agent around? I can't find it anywhere.
So yeah, the ultra processed foods are convenient. They're hyper palatable, like really tasty. So that's why you really want them, and they're almost quasi addictive. They're low cost because the ingredients they use these
additives.
Yeah, additives, flavorings, preservatives. They're high in sugar, in refined grains. They're high in fats, preservatives, and salts.
Gotcha. We've also got another box here. We'll just read this one quick. It's Melba toast, which, I would think that's pretty healthy, like pretty plain kind of cracker, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just read the ingredients on here too, and then you can give it the red light, green light.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got enriched wheat flour, yeast, salt, potassium chloride, wheat gluten, malt flour, coconut and or high oleic sunflower and or rapeseed oil. I guess they're not sure which one's in there. Yeast extract, ascorbic acid, enzymes. There's some enzymes. They don't say which ones. And soy lecithin. And it may contain milk and sesame.
Milk and Melba toast.
I'm not sure. I always laugh at those labels where it says it may contain. Like who isn't that their job to know what's in it? Like how do they not know what's in what they're giving me to eat?
Fred was working that day, so it's probably got the milk solids in there versus.
Yeah, like if Jane was working, there's definitely no milk in it. But if Fred was on that day, it's probably got the milk. So depending on which box we got.
Well, you can just picture the factories with like the big vats of where they are processing the food, and like
something might have fallen into it.
Maybe.
Yeah. But what's the point of having the ingredients if they don't know what's in it? If it's like, well, it might have some of this in it. It might have some of this. We're not sure which oil. It might have the coconut oil or the high oleic sunflower, or it might have the rapeseed. We're not sure.
Yeah.
But one of those is probably in there.
Well, I guess, and the more processed foods are more, it's a safety risk for people with allergies, because if it may contain this or that, or someone with celiac disease, it may contain wheat or gluten.
That's a bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
As soon as you see those things or may contain, I'd say, yeah, okay, I'll steer clear of that, because they don't even know what's in it. And they made it.
That's right. That's right. So, sorry.
No, you go.
The Melba toast.
Oh, yeah, we got to decide if it's good or not. That's a whole lot of ingredients.
Sorry, tell me, look at the nutrition label, and what's the fiber, the grams of fiber per serving?
1 gram.
Okay, and how much sugar per serving?
1 gram.
Okay, I would say that is a red.
Because it doesn't have anything good in it?
It does, actually. It's got rye, but it's highly processed.
Yeah.
Highly processed, and it's got the less than 2 grams of fiber. And that's a red category.
And more than 5 ingredients. Was that one of the rules too?
Mm-hmm.
So more than 5 ingredients, not a lot of fiber. Yeah. And they don't really know what's in it. So that's my rule.
Okay.
If they're unsure about what the ingredients are, then maybe choose something else.
That's funny, Rob. There's another chart that I had that was really interesting. So it goes from ultra processed to home version, or like a minimally processed whole food. So sweetened breakfast cereal is ultra processed. Processed foods would be bran cereal, or like the Fiber One that has more fiber than sugar. And then the home version would be oatmeal that you sweeten with honey. And then maybe you add your own seeds and nuts.
Right. That's what I like to do.
Are you eating the Melba toast?
They're pretty tasty.
They are, I know.
I mean, they're
pretty plain. It's just that they're low in fiber, and
they're like a rice cake, probably.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, there's not much to them.
Yeah.
And it even says on the box, which is part of their marketing, because they know they're kind of plain. That could be another
category, is good. If it's got like any kind of claims or marketing, then you got to be wary of it.
Thin and crispy, perfect for topping and dipping. So they're basically, that's a fancy way of saying these are really plain and you need to dip it into something to make it taste better.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's interesting because most ultra processed foods are very highly palatable, like highly tasty, like very yummy and delicious. So interesting.
Good to know.
So then, okay, ultra processed, processed, and home versions. So ultra processed flavored potato chips. Processed would be like plain tortilla chips, like plain, because they would have less of the salt.
Right.
And then the home version would be do-it-yourself pita chips, maybe with a whole wheat pita.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. And you were talking about a potato.
Oh yeah, like,
weren't you too? Like,
yeah, potato flakes. That you add water, like instant potato, is the ultra processed.
Okay.
And then the middle one, like processed, would be frozen potato,
like hash browns.
Yeah, that haven't been majorly frozen, like majorly processed. They're just
raw frozen potatoes.
That's right. And then the home version, the minimally processed, would be potatoes.
Just a regular potato.
A potato that you actually have to scrub and peel and
the dirt
cut
off. And,
yeah. And I think part of the issue is we're losing our basic cooking skills. It's not necessarily taught in schools. Kids aren't learning it at home. Do you remember the Jamie Oliver food revolution where he went into the grade 1 class and he brought all these different vegetables and fruits, and a lot of the kids had never seen them before.
Yeah, that was crazy. He held up like a tomato and none of the kids in the class knew what it was. They were looking at it and smelling it and touching it, and they're like, I don't know, is that a potato? Is it an apple? And then he said, does anybody know, did he...
Tomato ketchup.
He's like,
do you know
tomato ketchup?
And they're like, oh, of course. Yeah, I love ketchup. Ketchup's my favorite. I put it on everything. And yeah, it just kind of shows that.
Yeah, they don't know what a tomato is, but they know what ketchup is.
Yeah.
They could probably tell you what a picture of French fries was and where it's from, but they don't know what a potato is.
That's right. They couldn't identify the potato either.
Yeah. So
and to me, that means that they're not seeing it at home. Like they're probably not having home cooked meals very often, or they're not using, minimally processed foods. Like just
they're not seeing the raw food.
Yeah.
They're seeing the processed versions.
Yeah.
So they're not familiar with those raw foods.
But they know what, Captain Crunch or, various Kraft peanut butter or whatever.
Yeah, like the corporate branding of foods. They're familiar with that.
Heavily marketed to kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as Marion Nestle, who's the former nutrition advisor in the Department of Health and Human Services, is talking about how the food industry's single-minded pursuit of sales above consumer welfare, they were already trying to sell their products in an environment in which there were twice as many calories as anybody needed. Now they had to grow their profits every 90 days for the shareholders. The result was that food companies had to seek new ways to market their food, and they did that by making larger portions, by making food available absolutely everywhere, by making food as convenient as it could be, and by creating a social environment in which it was okay to eat all day long in more places in larger portions.
Yeah. You think about, like you can get food everywhere now. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like they're either through a vending machine or even stores that didn't used to sell food.
Like banks. Like have chocolate bars or gasoline.
For real?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Hardware stores.
I thought you were joking.
No,
well,
seriously.
You're right. Yeah. The hardware's usually in the lineup so that they can make you happy while you're, in case you're hungry.
I know.
Gosh, I don't know if I can wait the 5 minutes in line. I wish there's some food here. Oh, look. They have a whole bank of food here I can eat. Oh, good. I'm not going to starve.
So don't buy food where you buy your gasoline.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy rule, right?
Well, yeah, 20% of food is eaten in cars, and that's probably with fast food too. But you're multitasking when you're eating. You're not you're not being mindful when you eat, and you're also eating in a secretive way, like dashboard dining, where you're hiding those foods that probably aren't great, but they're convenient and you're hungry. And what was your slogan?
Oh, the food company's slogan? Eat always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the food companies. That's right. That's your slogan that you were joking that it's food companies.
Yeah.
Eat always.
Well, that's what they want.
Eat food always.
That's what they're encouraging us to do, because there's food everywhere, and they want us to just always be eating.
Yeah, because it helps their bottom line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I like Micah Pollan's logo or slogan, eat foods, not too much, mostly plants.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about movie theaters and how you feel the necessity to eat while you're watching a movie. And most people go to a movie after dinner.
Right.
So you've just eaten, and then you go to the movie. It's at like 7:00 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I need to get a big thing of popcorn and a giant bucket of pop and a bag of candy. And it's like, that's something that we've learned.
Yes.
It's not, nobody's hungry when they go to the theater.
Yeah.
You know, but it's something that you've learned to do.
Yeah. And you think, oh my God, 2 hours without eating, I'm going to die.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's no, like, zero relationship between watching a movie and eating.
Yeah.
It's a socially created ideal.
Yeah. And it's this connection, right? Like it's this.
Well, it's in our brain now. I mean, you smell the popcorn.
Yeah.
Like they pump it out into the street. So when you're waiting in line, you're smelling the hot buttered popcorn. You're like, oh, I can't wait to get inside. And some people will miss the first 10 minutes of the movie in order to get their popcorn, because that's more important than watching the movie, which is, it fascinates me. But
well, definitely. I mean, those associations we have in our brain, like, movie, popcorn, going for a picnic, and potato salad, or turkey dinner and pumpkin pie, or
right.
like, so these are things too. Like if you have something, or dinner and dessert, like a lot of people, they just always, they were brought up to have dessert after every dinner. Nowadays, it's like a dessert after every meal.
True.
So you need that like sweet taste, after you've eaten. So these things are killing us.
Totally killing us.
It's so bad for us. And we're not mindful when we're eating, and we're eating more ultra processed foods. So another ultra processed and home version would be, ultra processed would be like the fried chicken. And then the next one would be deli rotisserie chicken, or the next one would be roasted chicken from scratch.
So those are some good examples.
Yeah. Or frozen blended coffee is ultra processed. And then the store-bought cold brew would be the processed. And then the home version would be homemade drip coffee.
Oh, like a coffee shop fancy mixed up latte thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with the chocolate, with the ultra processed, it would be the flavored candy bar with a long list of ingredients. And then the processed would be a chocolate bar, like just a regular chocolate bar that has minimal ingredients, like less than 5. And then the best one would be the dark chocolate that's just got a few ingredients.
Right. Gotcha.
And it's got more of that cacao. Yeah. So the 5 ways to reduce your ultra processed food intake would be buying foods without labels, whole, minimally processed.
Yeah.
And if it is packaged with a label, then make sure the fiber grams is higher than the sugar grams on the label. Number 2, foods that rot is a good rule of thumb. So if it's going to rot, it doesn't have a ton of preservatives or food stabilizers or all those.
Yeah, it's more fresh.
Yeah.
It's not
additives that help preserve it forever and ever. Number 3 is less than 5 ingredients is a good rule of thumb. Number 4, low sugar, high fiber, low omega-6, and no trans fats.
Right.
And number 5, something your grandmother would recognize. I wonder if she would know what a yogurt tube is.
Probably not. Yeah. Hey, where does canned food fit into this?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's actually on category. So if it's canned just from its state of like
its raw state,
it's like, it's category number 2. So it's almost the whole minimally processed.
Okay. So they're good, because I'm just thinking.
And if you do it yourself, like home canning,
sure, yeah,
is also like category number 2.
Because there's preservatives in
some of them. And so with every food, you can look at, where, like, what has it gone through and where did it originate from and how much processing. So if it's like the fruit, if it's added syrups, then you know that's going to have more sugar. Right. And it's different than eating. So applesauce is different than eating an apple.
Right. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm just going to grab a can.
Okay.
Okay, I just grabbed a couple of cans here quickly, just out of curiosity. I got a can of black beans, and the ingredients are black beans, water, salt, and calcium chloride. So that's pretty basic. The water obviously is what it's in. The salt, I'm sure, is for preserving it.
Yep.
And whatever that last thing was. So that's pretty basic. I guess that meets the list. I guess a can of soup probably would be more processed because there's tons of stuff in that.
Yeah, more salt and more additives and flavoring.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess same rules apply. Just read the label. And if it's like when we read the peanut butter label where it was just peanuts and salt, that would be the one you want to get because it's less. And if it's got 18 different things in it of things you can't pronounce and wouldn't find in your fridge.
Right. That's the big thing, is like those ingredients that you don't recognize as something that you would be cooking with.
True, yeah.
And it's a really good, like this ice cream milk sugars, sugar glucose solids, chocolatey fudge pieces, modified palm oil, sugar, cocoa, unsweetened chocolate, soy lecithin, modified milk ingredients, soy mono and diglycerides, cellulose gum, guar gum, polysorbate 80, carrageenan, natural flavor, and natto may contain peanuts and tree nuts.
Right. So there's quite a few things in there that I didn't even know what. Like, where do you find that on the shelf?
Carrageenan?
Yeah.
I think you find it in the ocean, actually.
Yeah.
But it is a additive that is, I think it's a bulking agent. Emulsifier. It's emulsifier.
Yeah, one of those. All right. So this has been a lot of information. I hope people are going to think about it while they're shopping next time and maybe start looking at things a little differently.
Green light, low sugar, and high fiber.
Yeah, because it'll help. It'll help the bottom line, the back end, the bottom end, however we say that.
of your health, like your body size and shape, and your dollar, like your budget. And is that what you mean?
Kinda.
What do you mean?
No, that's what I mean exactly. Your waistline.
And the family's health to prevent all those. And they're finding more and more about like gut biome and how the ultra processed foods is affecting our gut biome to the degree of there's a link with depression, with lower IQ scores in children. And
oh wow, yeah, that's there's so much more to health and what we put in our bodies, and it affects us in so many more ways than just our weight. Sandra's going to dig up some info here.
The ultra processed foods affect the gut biome with the common ingredients like the artificial sweeteners and emulsifiers, the high temperature extrusions, and we talked about that with the fats, oils, and grease last episode.
Right.
It creates a gut environment that favors microbes that promote low-grade inflammation associated with obesity and several diseases. And now they are making that link with depression and other mood disorders too.
Right.
And there's a role with ultra processed foods to increase your craving, your appetite, and then you overconsume it. And, our modern living allows for a little time for cooking. So we need the convenience, or we think we do. And the food tastes so good. So that's the issue too. It tastes so good. So why would you spend time cooking? And we're losing our cooking skills, and it's effort to cook and to clean up.
Yeah, but it's so important.
Yeah.
Good. That's good information. All right. Well, thank you, Sandra, for sharing that with us today. That's hopefully going to be of benefit to people when they're out shopping and eating and cooking and doing all those things they should be doing.
Thanks for playing red light, green light with me.
Oh, I love that game. Yeah. All right. It's been fun. Have a good week. We will be back next week with more exciting things.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today on My Wife, the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.